Welcome to Tilly's Trans Tuesdays. By now, you likely know that I live and breathe Star Trek, and so it's such an absolute joy to take you through the intentional trans allegory of Strange New Worlds Ad Astra Per Aspera, Part 1, Context and Diving In by Timestamps. Hi, I'm Tilly Bridges, your host, and I'm joined by my writing partner, my best friend, my wife, our token cis representation, the lady who puts the stars in my trek, Susan Bridges.
Hello.
Our guest this week is critic and journalist Maureen Ryan, who's a contributing editor at Vanity Fair and has written for Entertainment Weekly, The New York Times, Salon, GQ, and Vulture. Prior to joining Vanity Fair, she worked as a television critic at Variety, Huffington Post, and the Chicago Tribune. In addition to criticism, opinion pieces, and feature stories about the entertainment industry, she has spent much of the last decade writing in-depth pieces on matters of inclusion, misconduct, abuse, and exploitation in Hollywood. Her first book, Burn It Down, Power, Complicity, and a Call for Change in Hollywood, which is so dang good, is a deeper exploration of these issues and came out in 2023, right in the middle of the industry strikes. Welcome back to the show, Mo.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I love it when people introduce me and I sound fancy, but we know each other and you know that I'm just a big old nerd.
So are we, though. It's fine.
Yeah.
You are our people. And I am so glad to have you back to talk about this thing we both love so much, TV and Star Trek. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to ask what you've been up to since the last time you were on the show a little over a year ago, if you have any exciting updates you want to share.
I am going to be like so many showrunners have said to me, stay tuned. Something exciting is coming. Something exciting is coming. I cannot announce it yet, but
I might know.
You do know because you're in the inner circle of trust. And I trust all of you out there in listening land, but not as 100% as I trust Tilly.
You never know. A miscreant could sneak in somewhere.
And honestly, here's the thing. I could have announced it earlier, but there's basically a time frame where I think it would be more exciting to announce it. But I am working on something pretty big, and I'm very excited about it, and I can't wait to announce it. And I'll say this. I'll break a little bit of news. I do have a new book project lined up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to, I don't think I've said that publicly until now.
Ooh, we got a scoop.
And you do. And I think I'll just say this as sort of a teaser. It will be of interest to, I think, people who are sampling this podcast, listening to our talk.
I think so, yes. I think there's audience overlap between these two things.
I think there's a lot of overlap. Yeah. And then in a couple of years, I'll be like, hey, guys, would you like to have me on the podcast? And you'll be like,
we will say,
no.
Yes.
Yay, thank you.
Always.
I can't wait.
All right, before we dive in, do you want to let folks know where they can find more about you online after listening?
If they want to, hear more, sample more of my words after this, I'll be extremely flattered and pleased. I mean, basically, the main hub is moryan.com.
So easy and perfect.
Do not let the plagiarism machines and the lying bots tell you that Mo Ryan and Maureen Ryan are different people, because we're not.
That's right. I forgot they did that. Amazing.
As far as you know, there's only one of me.
That's right.
So moryan.com. I'm moryan.social at Blue Sky, which is kind of where I hang out most. I'm also moryan66 on Instagram. And if you go to moryan.com, you can sign up for my extremely erratically produced newsletter. But if you want more updates about this next book project, again, I'll drop another hint about it. The first book is, as you all know, is really important to me in terms of shedding light on patterns in the industry that are very bad, and we certainly have talked about that. and those problems remain, unfortunately. But it was rough. It was rough as my first book, and it was rough for that subject matter to be occupying my
Sure.
brain for that
Yeah,
long.
I can imagine.
I will say that while I think that this book will engage with many things that I think probably all of us care about, all three of us, it's honestly been a joy and I'm learning a lot. So it's a very different book experience. I'm like, oh, what if you can do a book and have those skills to order the material and synthesize the material and write it all down, and it's not like actively killing your soul? Like, what if that seems good? Like, right?
What a neat
Let's do that.
idea.
It's a
Let's
cool
try
idea.
it.
People should try it. Yeah.
Yes. But if you haven't read Burn It Down and you haven't heard the previous episodes that Mo was on, please do go read it if you care at all about movies and television and the people who make it, because it's really important in shedding a light on so much of what so many people just trying to make the art that you all enjoy go through. So I think it's
Yeah.
important for everybody.
And I will say, if my anti-pitch just now made you not want to buy it or sample it or get it from your library, as you know, the last third of the book is really like, not only can we turn things around and make things better, here are the people that are doing that. And
Yeah.
I did have to have a shout out to Strange New Worlds, discussing a few episodes that I loved. But I really wanted to not do a book that's just, oh gosh, yikes, this is bad. But there are so many people who are really trying. Maybe they've made mistakes, but there's real on the ground attempts to make the industry better. And of course, the industry pushes back at every turn,
Yeah.
overtly and covertly. But the last third of the book is much more me shining a light on people who are doing things that I think
Yeah.
are positive and helpful and help make for more great storytelling, which is the point.
Absolutely right. We just ran into this on our short film that when you support people and treat them fairly and kindly and compassionately, they feel like they trust you more and they feel like it's in a better environment to do better work in. And so, all of
Yes,
our cast said that to us afterward. They were like, this was the best set we've ever been on. We felt so respected and free to experiment and to really get into the characters and everything. So it makes for better work too. And of course, that's not the most important reason. The most important reason is
100%.
they're humans and you should
Right.
treat them correctly and nicely and with respect. But yeah, so it's just so much better all around. So I don't get
Honestly,
why
you're in
anyone
my
doesn't like
brain. No, you're in my brain. I mean, when it took me a long time to select my next book project. I had a few ideas that I was kicking around, and also a car hit our house.
Oh,
So that was really
that's
bad. And
right. I
honestly,
remember
literally
that.
just yesterday, the last repairs were finished, like 2 days ago. I'm not
Oh, well,
kidding.
congratulations on that at
Yeah.
least finally.
Yeah, it was 18 months of utter just
Wow.
not great.
Yeah.
But so as I was casting about, I was like, okay, well, how do I want to write about something I really care about, this, that, and the other. I want it to, sell. I need money. I don't know about you, but money is good to have.
Oh, yes, it sure is.
But a big reason that I'm writing about this, delving into the topic that I'm delving into for my next book, is that how these people made the thing that they made, the how of it is incredibly important to why it's so good.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing that I want to highlight. Like, essentially, it's like the last third of my book, I have sort of mini examples of like people felt valued, properly
Right.
compensated, properly treated, and respected. And absolutely, what I'm finding out as I'm doing this research and doing these extensive interviews is that even if someone can have a bad day, someone can have a
Yeah,
like
yeah.
difficult moment, but when people feel like they are in a place where they can be exactly who they are and try things and
Yeah.
experiment. I'm sure that you found that on your film set as well, that like there's no comparison. There's no
Uh,
comparison
Yeah.
to a fear-based environment and then an environment of, I almost don't want to use the word safe because people like now parody that whole idea of a safe space. I,
Sure.
I mean, you can feel fear because you're trying something risky, or you might fall on your face with this take or with this line or with this lighting setup, but people feel empowered to try it. And I'm hearing about people in posts saying, hey, what if we did this, rearranging an entire like two-parter or something like that, and the powers that be going, yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people, even if their idea isn't implemented, people feel heard. And when people feel heard and respected and valued, it absolutely should be that it just should be the case, because human beings are human beings, as you said. But
Yeah,
there's no doubt in my mind, having covered the industry for this long, it absolutely creates better work. No doubt in my mind.
absolutely right. There's multiple parts in our short film that are there because it was the actor's idea, or it was the set designer's idea, or one of the lighting grips had a great idea that they came to us with, and we used it, and it was wonderful. And so I love all of that. And all of it made our movie better. So it's great.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's very funny to me that I'm talking to people, and that everyone has done various jobs in their career, and someone said, "Oh, I want to imitate what you did over on that project." So that's my goal with this new thing that we're working on. This a different person who wasn't associated with like sort of Project A, that is the subject of my book. But then this person shut down every idea and viewed every suggestion or evolution, of an idea as an attack. And
Mm,
it's like, yeah, you want to create something on that level, but you're not going to get there, because if you continually shut people down, they get that message very quickly.
yep.
And then, okay, great. I think a lot of people conflate artistic confidence with sort of either bullying or complete control. And
Yeah.
artistic confidence to me is, oh, cool. The actor wanted to block the scene. Oh, it's so much better this way.
It's so much better that way. Yep.
Yeah. Just
Putting
listen.
the work first, not putting your ego first.
Right. The best
And
idea
a lot
wins,
of
no matter
people,
whose it is. Yeah.
and I think there's a phrase I came up with just yesterday, actually, like what do I want to call it? Confident humility.
Hmm.
Like, I think confident humility is a thing. And by that, I mean, you know what your story is that you're going to tell in your film, right? You know what that is. You know what your sort of do or die, like this has to be in it, this has to be in it. Or like if you have confidence in the story you're telling and your vision and your ability, you're not threatened by other people wanting to make your thing better. And I think a
Exactly.
hugely underrated skill in this industry that people maybe should learn if they're going to be in any kind of leadership role is you can say no in a way that makes people still continue to feel invested.
Yeah.
Okay, I love your idea for doing that, but we only have 45 minutes with this equipment that we rented, and we don't do it this way now. If people
Yeah.
understand, or you know what, that's just not my vision for the piece. This is a personal moment that I'm taking from my life, so I want this line to remain as is. Like, if people
Yeah.
understand it, 99 times out of 100, they're just like, okay, cool, just thought I'd mention. But we've
Yeah.
all been in a situation where someone gets shot down in a way that's demeaning or insulting or cruel.
Yep.
And it's like,
Yeah.
no, what if you didn't do that?
What if we didn't? Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Let's talk about Star Trek. That's what we're here for.
Hey.
Indeed. Let's talk about Star Trek.
All right. If you are listening and new to Star Trek, here is a quick primer. Each of the shows basically follows a crew on a starship or a space station or soon at the Academy and their adventures in seeking out new life and new civilizations. They're usually part of Starfleet, which is this group of ships and stations used for said exploration, and Starfleet is the exploratory and defense force of the Federation, which is a very large alliance of planets that have come together to work for the common good. The Federation is largely a utopia, and the founding principles of the entire franchise are inclusion, diversity, compassion, and hope. You can maybe start to see why I love it. All of these 800 plus hours of movies and television have a shared continuity and history, and that can seem really daunting to folks. And I'm here to tell you that if you've never watched any Star Trek before, fear not. This little primer and the episode itself that we'll be discussing give you all the context you need. And the really cool thing is that Star Trek has almost become a sub-medium of its own within science fiction, because it can hold compelling drama or goofy silliness, horror, legal drama, medical drama, action, outright comedy, war drama, thrillers, parody, and more. For every genre of story, Trek has incorporated it and made it work within its framework, and that's really remarkable. And I'd be remiss if I did not take a second to mention that not only have Susan and I written for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game and consulted on Season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy, we're also writing a comic series. Star Trek Voyager Homecoming is a 5-issue limited series that begins later this year, so you should definitely check that out. We have a really fabulous story coming your way. There's a link about it in the show notes. Before I get into a little bit of the context people who are new to Trek need for the episode we're going to discuss, I wanted to ask what your history with Trek has been like, Mo. Like, what was your first encounter with it? Have you always been a fan?
I might be making some waves with what I say next, but you know what? That's kind of my jam a little bit. I, again, I was just the other day, I was talking to someone who kind of came up in that world, and we were talking about, the original show. Of
Sure.
course, I knew about it, like I knew that it existed. And I watched it because, I'm old. So like there was not like 97 channels with everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like now you just like Netflix, 70 million things.
Yeah.
That was just what was on. Like there's the Star Trek, syndication, like marathon on whatever show, like on Saturdays. So yeah, I watched it, and I think I actually have been going through the films, Star Trek films. I genuinely don't know that I watched all of them in the theater, but I know I saw Wrath
Sure.
of Khan, like I was familiar with it. I would say that me sort of falling down the rabbit hole of Trek really came about via TNG. And
Yeah.
when I was in graduate school at Northwestern, I'm fairly sure that my roommate thought that I majored in crossword puzzles and next generation repeats, which you're welcome. Yes, I did. I mean, yes, I studied journalism, sure, whatever that means. But no, I mean, every day, I don't even remember what channel it was, but every day at 6 o'clock, there was a TNG repeat. And especially around the time of when the show really caught fire with like Best of Both Worlds and the
Yeah.
two-parters, I was huge. I was into it, but then I correctly believe Deep Space Nine to be the best Trek. And if you want to come fight me on this, I will fight you in a nice, loving, considerate, empathic way. No, I mean, that was the one where, okay, real talk, this is probably the funniest Trek story about sort of my personal life. When I met the man who became my husband, we went out for dinner, and obviously, as one does, I caught him up on where Deep Space Nine had gotten to.
Sure.
Total stranger, right? Like, and so I get on the L, and I'm like, oh God, I did it again, didn't I? I did it again. He's never gonna call me. Like, this is what. And it's like, okay, well, here's where Babylon 5 is different. So let me compare and contrast. Again, this is the greatest date ever. Obviously, I'm describing the best date that
It
ever
would be for
happened.
me. I'm just saying.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, but I got, yeah, I remember, I'll never forget like walking to the train and being like, I just can't stop myself sometimes, can I? But like, again, this is why I'm a critic. This is why I do this for my living. Like, I just can't stop thinking about television.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that was a great first date. There will not be a second one. There was, and we're still married. And this is like his devotion. I think it was more to me than the show, but like I literally had, I want to say the last season or second to last season of I think it was the last season. So I had a crappy, VCR, a videotape recorder, and I would like record the show. And sometimes it was like patchy because like the signal was bad because our cable was bad in our building. And so I would literally play the recording of Deep Space Nine episodes and stop it every few minutes to be like, okay, so the backstory on Odo and Kira is, like for 20. So I'm like, again, how is this man still dating me? Like this, because I like ruined it by I was like, okay, but you need context about, the Cardassian occupation. Let's take a step back about 50 years. And then I'm like sitting there remembering he must have been in love with me because it was like, that was exactly what was going down. When after we got married, of course, I made him watch the whole thing all the way through. Like, I didn't make anyone do anything.
No,
Like, it was a choice.
that's what's right and proper.
It's right and proper. Right now, we're watching TNG, and so yeah. So I found my my person because he was like, no, that's interesting, and I'm like, yes, that's interesting. You get it. And so
perfect.
I literally I have had to say like that on my first date with the person I've now been married to for 25 years, I talked Dominion Federation for like 2 hours. So that feels relevant to our topic today. But yeah,
that's
ever since
how you
then,
know it's meant to be.
yeah, exactly. So I've watched, I want to say, all the shows. Every so often, a friend of mine who's also a fellow geek is like, oh, okay, I'm on season 4 of my Voyager rewatch. I'm like, should I rewatch Voyager or should I? I haven't rewatched Enterprise. I mean, I've rewatched DS9 a few times. I'm doing a TNG rewatch right now. We just had the episode where Captain Picard is wearing like the shortest male swimsuit I've ever
Yeah.
seen on any
It's really
television
small.
On
program.
Ryza.
Yep.
It's very small. And I don't know. I think one thing I love about Star Trek, which actually is applicable to sort of the wider TV scene. Obviously, I'm a sci-fi nerd, but beyond that, as you said, the capacity of the show to contain so many kinds of storytelling.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about the limitations of Star Trek at that time, for sure, it was not serialized. Character
Yeah.
moments could not last, or like character development was not as much of a thing. They tried to make it a thing in Deep Space Nine, which is what helped make it, I think, very good. But I love the 22 or 24 or 26 episode season, and I know that it was brutal to work on those seasons of TV, but it was also incredible in terms of artistic creativity and
Yeah.
taking chances.
Right.
You can have a whole episode where the captain's living a completely different life.
Yep.
You can take a big swing and do something kind of like the big limitation, especially for a lot of the classic Trek fare, was there can be minor interpersonal conflicts amongst the crew, but they can't really, like the plot can't be crew member A and crew member B
Right.
like are incredibly, unless it's like some evil twin situation or parallel universe guy.
Which happens
So
more often than you might think.
yeah, that's why they did that. So
Yeah.
like, oh, holodeck Riker is mean, like whatever. But the conflict has to come from outside. But okay, if you accept that limitation, they really do a lot and they take a lot of chances. And I think that that's really, I miss that. I miss that so much. And the variety of tones that you can do, the variety of premises and situations. And that's, we're going to talk about Strange New Worlds today, which I think really the intention was to get back to that. I mean, retain the character stuff, maybe retain that, like it's not a hard reset on everyone's personality every single time.
Right.
But let's do episodes that are episodes. And that's how you get this. It's them doing their courtroom drama. So my long monologue on Trek, and I have so much love and affection for it, even though, I mean, if I'm real, I watched the original series and I'm just going to say it. It's so unbelievably sexist.
It is.
It's just so wildly sexist in this sort of genial, condescending way. It's like it's a fun adventure space romp, but also it's just the limitations of it are so like, I don't know, the original series, I have affection for it. I just don't. Certain episodes I love, but overall, is it my fave? It's not.
Yeah, I mean, each show is always a product of its time. And like the first show, even though it is incredibly sexist, it also pushed things forward in a lot of ways, by having Uhura on the bridge, having a Russian and a Japanese man on the bridge not that long after World War II. Those were huge things. And so each show, I think, Trek is, well, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, actually later on, probably in the last episode, I think, but it's always had lofty ideals that are, I guess, ahead of the people making it. And so the entire history of Trek, I feel like, has been about it trying to catch up to its own ideals. And it keeps getting closer, and that's a great thing.
And that's very Starfleet.
It is.
I love what you just said, Tilly. I'm going to steal it. I think that that's one of the best distillations of Trek I've ever heard, because I think that that's the root of so much of my love and affection for it, is that it comes from it comes from a place that I know that the intentions are good.
Right.
There's so many things that we can point to as being tone deaf, bad, offensive even, but like, they're trying, and sometimes they fall over and it's just not good. But I think, yes, they're embracing that very kind of early 60s, we're going to go to the stars. They're embracing a very positive and inclusive ideal. Now, how that actually played out week to week was not, like
It was not
No,
perfect.
They just
it was
couldn't
not
conceive a
perfect.
woman would not be serving coffee on the bridge in 200 years, but
Again, we're on season 3 of TNG, and I'm like, can we take Marina Sirtis out of the skin tight
Yeah.
bodysuit?
And
I'm
they
begging,
wait till like what, season
begging.
6 until she gets an actual uniform? Yeah, it's
Right.
yeah.
I'm like, that woman could not ever have a big lunch. Like, I'm just like looking at how they dress.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just maybe in a way that's why Trek fans can be so passionate about what they love and but also what they don't love, because we know you're better than this. You want to be better than this,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not. So,
Yeah.
but we love it.
We do. Okay, one little bit of in-universe Trek history that I want to mention for you who are listening who may not be familiar with Trek are the eugenics wars, which took place prior to the formation of the Federation. There were genetically modified humans, some of whom felt they were better than us regular old humans and wanted to eradicate us. As a result of that, the Federation banned genetic modifications entirely in an effort to prevent the same thing from happening again. Whether that was right or wrong is something the episode we'll be talking about covers, so more on that later. The leader of the genetically modified people who started the eugenics wars was Khan Noonien Singh, yes, the one from Wrath of Khan we've undoubtedly heard of. I mention this only because one of Khan's descendants is in the episode we're going to discuss, but also because this episode heavily features a genetically modified character. That character is Una Chin Riley, who is not human, though she outwardly appears human, and is in fact an Illyrian. Most Illyrians are genetically modified, which is something the episode itself and its previously on will explain. Una is the first officer on board the Enterprise, the very same one from the original Star Trek with Kirk and Spock. This show predates the original series chronologically. But know that Illyrians as a species are this episode's stand-in for trans people in the Allegory. Unlike what I talked about in my deep dives into The Matrix, Barbie, I Saw the TV Glow, and even Real Genius, all of which you can find in past episodes of this podcast, Star Trek Strange New Worlds has its own visual language, color palette, and look and feel that each episode needs to conform to outside of the allegory the specific episode is telling. As such, things like colors being metaphors can't be used as easily because costumes and bits of the sets have to maintain an appearance to match with all the other episodes. Things like this are also why the unintentional, I think, trans allegory of Silo Season 1, as discussed in episodes 36 to 44 of this show, also are more limited in the ways they can use visuals to convey allegory and metaphor. But there is one super important, huge visual clue that has caused me to label this an intentional, I think, trans allegory, and it happens pretty early on, so stay tuned. You will find, much like with other trans allegories in media that I've discussed, that a lot of this episode applies to people of all marginalized communities. But it is also very specific in the transness of its allegory, which is what we're going to discuss. The first time I saw this episode, it rocked my world, as evidenced by a social media post I made the second I finished watching it, thanking the entire franchise and the episode's writer. At 7:03 p.m. on June 22nd, 2023, I posted, "Hello. Star Trek said trans rights with its whole damned chest. Thank you, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Thank you, Dana Horgan, who was the show's writer. It means the world. One day may I fly among you, together in the stars. All my love always. Ad Astra Per Aspera. Live long and prosper emoji, trans flag emoji, heart emoji." As you can see from that post, this episode aired during Pride Month. While possibly not entirely planned as networks and studios set the release dates, it's quite possible, and I believe likely, that once they got the release schedule and saw episodes would release through June, someone somewhere worked to be sure this episode was among those released that month. Okay, Mo, what was your reaction when you first saw this episode? Did it kick you in the heart like it did to me? Did you pick up on the incredible transness of it?
I can't necessarily say that I picked up on the trans allegory of it specifically. I was looking at it as a shout out of sorts to like Measure of a Man, a very classic episode. Is Data a person? So
Right.
I sort of viewed it through the lens of a very strong history within Star Trek, which I think is incredibly important and very, pop culture can help liberate us, right?
Yep.
Like it can be,
Stories
as you've
matter.
explored in your wonderful work, stories matter. And so Star Trek has always been obsessed with this question of who's human, what's human, or to what do we accord rights, dignity, freedom?
Yeah.
How do we even understand this as a sentient being or entity?
Yeah.
The typical Trek setup is they'll come across a thing or a person or a place or a cloud of something and be like, is this a person? And there's a very developed Starfleet Federation protocol to follow throughout all the series, even though this is before allegedly the original series, and I get confused about timings sometimes, but whatever era of the show you're watching, all of these officers have been trained on and taught and know that they have to abide by a set of rules or protocols if we're talking about a sentient someone.
Yeah.
Just before we started recording, we were talking about the Next Generation episode with Data's daughter.
Yeah.
When does she get personhood? When is she allowed to make her own decisions? And are they allowed to be considered a family? Which for me very much read as an allegory of, this was, gosh, how many, like the 90s? Like marriage equality was not a thing, so I think the show's always been, I mean, I guess it would depend on your perspective if it's ahead of its time or behind. It's always been very forthright about examining equality and the treatment of someone or a group of people that some might consider the other.
Yeah.
Why are we calling it the other? Why are they evil? Why are we, what is the designation that we're giving this group or this person, and why does that matter? I mean, this is something that happens with me sometimes, Tilly. I read your work and I'm like, oh yeah, I should have got that. That was all just me backing and feeling like, I honestly cannot remember if that occurred to me at the time. I can't.
Sure. But
I think that it absolutely was like, yes, hey, Mo Ryan, known genius, you should have seen this, But weirdly, okay, I'm going to pose a question to you.
I'm ready.
Representation matters, obviously, right? I think that sometimes pop culture works on our brains when we don't necessarily even know that it's doing that.
Absolutely. And
I think I very strongly have thought and examined in my work the idea that the more mainstream and the more, in a way, if you want to say escapist and fun something is, or just like Orphan Black is an example I just bring up a lot. Orphan Black is about bodily autonomy. Who gets to control reproduction? Who gets to control bodies? Who gets to control non-male, what is a person? You know what I mean? Like, so for me as a feminist and someone who believes very strongly in trans rights, LGBTQ equality, all of those things, it's a fun show with fun characters that I love a lot, but it's not like, here's our serious theme about, reproductive rights. It's not that. It's very much drawing you in and being like, here are people that are just people trying to get by, and they're being persecuted because of this thing, which they shouldn't be. So I love that second episode of the season of, at that time, I want to say the flagship Star Trek property in Pride Month. And absolutely, it worked as a metaphor. And I watched it again. I usually watch the whole season again. I watched it again that year. And then I watched it again recently. Of course, it's very obvious to me now. I don't know that I thought that on first viewing.
Sure. Did you pick up on it, Susan? Like do you remember the first time you saw it? Or do you remember me freaking out watching the whole thing and being like, oh my God?
I remember you freaking out. Yeah.
Yeah. It meant a lot to me to have my favorite franchise say, you matter and your rights matter. That's huge. So,
But yeah, and it follows in the great tradition of Star Trek courtroom episodes, which there is a lot.
There are many, and they're
long and glorious.
That may sound boring to you, but most of them
are really good,
really freaking good.
It's one of the things they do really well.
Yeah.
And they do it really well because they take, I think the show, just whatever iteration we're talking about, Star Trek is about morality and politics. And I love the activist Grace Paley's definition of politics. Politics is how you treat people.
Yeah.
So I love the fans that come along later, like, well, don't make it political. I'm like, make it political? What?
Have you seen the show?
I don't see how they could so completely miss the point. Yeah, like, it's just incredible.
Even back in the incredibly sexist original series, there were literally episodes with the one where their metaphor is not a metaphor, with the aliens that are half black and half white, and the other half of the aliens are black and white, but on the other side of their bodies, and they hate each other for racial reasons. It's like so obvious what they're doing, and that's right. Back in the most sexist show that Star Trek has had, and so it's just like, It's always been part of it.
But we digress.
We do. We should talk about this episode.
We should.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it.
All right, listeners, you are primed, you are ready, you are hopefully excited. So let's go. 1 minute, 7 seconds. Flashbacks. She needs a hospital. Her leg isn't healing. It will. This is young Una, hurt, and note right here that her parents didn't just take her to get medical care, even though she clearly needs it. Why do you think that would be? It gets discussed later, but this is your first clue that Una and her people have to deal with things other folks might not think twice about. 1 minute, 11 seconds. Okay, so when I said the one visual that made me believe this is an intentional allegory was early on in the episode, I wasn't kidding, because here it is. You can see a picture of it in the text version of this essay at TillysTransTuesdays.com. It shows a child's leg in a brace with a wound on her leg, and a pink, blue, pink, white, pink, blue, pink strap is buckled around the brace. So, you've seen the trans pride flag, right? Right? The buckle on Una's brace isn't just in trans pride flag colors. It is literally the trans pride flag with an extra pink stripe on top and bottom. I say it in every trans allegory discussion I do, but everything in a movie or TV show is a choice. And yes, coincidences or happy accidents might happen, but it's still a choice to leave them in or remove them from the final product. But do you think the production designer and prop folks coincidentally made a buckle for a leg brace that looks like that? Not even just in blue, pink, and white, but with a literal trans flag on it. Have you ever seen a strap that looks like that anywhere if it wasn't part of an intentionally trans pride colored item? Do you think it's a coincidence that this strap made it through to the finished version of this episode? And do you think it's a coincidence that this happened in an episode that is very, very clearly, as you will see, discussing trans people? Because I sure don't. I screamed when I saw that.
Yes.
It's right there.
Yes.
It's right there on the screen.
And if I can just interject, this is a
Please
fandom
do.
that they know they are going to freeze every frame of this. This is a 50.
Yes,
This
they
show
know
has been
what
going
Trekkies are
for
like.
50 years. They know that if something on a engineering room screen is wrong, like someone is going to, they know every single frame is examined in depth, especially, now that you can do that. Like when it was in my day, you couldn't even stop first run episodes, but then when you got DVRs and VCRs, you could. But they know that they're dealing with obsessive people in a good way. But also, I totally cannot see this being an accident in the slightest.
Yeah, there's no way. And it is also important that you see this strap as part of that leg brace, which is there because of Una's wound. Because there is something about Una's wound that's something only Illyrians, trans people, have. So this is showing you right up front that the difference Una and Illyrians have from humans and other non-Illyrian species in the Federation is their transness. This is setting up that metaphor and all the heavy lifting it's going to do for the rest of the episode. 1 minute, 15 seconds. If we go to the hospital, they might see her fighting infection. They'll run tests to find out. And what will those tests show, do you think? 1 minute, 31 seconds. Una's leg glows. She is different physically. Look, if we go to the hospital now, they'll see and we'll lose everything. Her life will be ruined, all of ours. So Una's physical difference, the glowing, representative of a physical marker that she's trans, say perhaps genitalia that you wouldn't expect to find on a cis girl, will be found by the doctors and they would lose everything. And here's where some of that earlier context helps, because remember, genetic engineering is outlawed in the Federation due to the eugenics wars, and what you might not know yet is that basically all Illyrians are genetically modified for reasons that are revealed later. So Illyrians simply being who they are is against the law. Does that ring any bells? Lots more on that to come. 1 minute, 46 seconds. Back with adult Una, in trouble because she's been outed. Starfleet would like to offer a deal. Plead guilty to knowingly submitting false information to Starfleet by failing to disclose your genetic modification status, and will accept dishonorable dismissal, no prison time. Look how generous they are, no prison time. We won't even throw you in jail for not disclosing your truth so we could kick you out earlier. Dishonorable dismissal for the crime of being different. 2 minutes, 6 seconds, Captain Battelle. Starfleet is willing to seal your records and look the other way. Una. They want to cover up their mistake. And she's right, they do. Because if word got out that a genetically modified Illyrian had been serving for a very long time with zero issues, that would sure pull the rug out from under their belief that genetically modified people are evil, wouldn't it? 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Battelle. Una, you don't want to drag this out, and you don't want others to get dragged in. Ooh, listen, if you don't do what we want, then all the allies who helped you are going to get in trouble too. You wouldn't want that, would you?
Can I just say, Space Winona Earp, don't do this. Melanie, I love Melanie Scrofano. Everybody should watch Winona Earp if you haven't. She's great in this show.
Yeah.
But I think, and she's very committed to the role. Like, I'm not saying she's giving a bad performance, but the whole time I'm watching this and rewatching it, I'm like, this is a very good demonstration about people who think they're doing good are being coercive and discriminatory and propping up a deeply wrong system, and I think probably it's a good thing. Like, I'm just super down for anything Melanie Scrofano does because I think she's a wonderful actor. So I'm not dinging the character. I'm not dinging her. I'm just saying that, I think as we saw with Andor, with any politically engaged drama, whether it's science fiction or not, it's very useful to show how people who think they're doing good are actually propping up rotten and abusive systems. And that's actually something I've done in my career, is try to help people understand, if you have the power to stop enabling a bad system that is harming people, and you don't, you have to reckon with that moral choice. And a lot of people, no, I had no choice. You did, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's just something that the episode really deals with. It's not like, here are the bad people over here and here are the good people over here. People in the middle are making choices, and they have to reckon with those choices, and they kind of don't want to. And Battelle, in this instance, throughout the episode, I don't think she's thrilled about what she's doing, but she's doing it.
Yeah. We'll get into that a little bit more later on.
Yeah.
2 minutes, 33 seconds. Battelle, take some time, talk it over with your counsel. Una, how can he counsel me when he works for you? The people working for our oppressors aren't our friends, even if they claim to be. They don't understand us. They don't know what it's like to be us. And if they are, say, voting for people who would oppress us, they are not and cannot be our actual friends. Listen to episode 89 on Trans Politics 2. You must vote to protect us for more on that. 3 minutes, 33 seconds. Captain Pike's trying to get one of Una's own people, Nira, to represent her as legal counsel. And though it is dangerous and possibly even life-threatening for him to do this due to the atmosphere being inhospitable to humans, he will not give up, because he is an accomplice and will not let his crew member and friend lose her rights, even though it doesn't come without danger. Standing up for us and fighting for us does indeed paint a target on cis allies' backs, even though they're far more likely to be listened to than we are, and far less likely to suffer repercussions, which is why we need them so badly. If you're not standing close enough to us that the bricks thrown at us hit you too, you're not standing close enough. See episode 35 on proactive allyship, be an accomplice, for more. 3 minutes, 56 seconds. The room's air is changed so Pike can breathe in it, and it saves him. Illyrians represent no threat and don't want to hurt anyone. They just experience life differently, just like trans people. 4 minutes, 15 seconds. Pike explains how Illyrians have been genetically modified to be able to live in the Volterra Nebula, and Nira says, "You think that would allow us a measure of privacy." Note that their genetic modifications were a necessity for them to survive, and they just wanted to be left alone in peace. But here's a cis person waltzing right in. At least Pike has noble goals. Many trans people who feel they can't transition don't make it to old age. This is not true for every trans person, because you can be trans without experiencing gender dysphoria, as discussed in episode 59. But also not every trans person makes it to old age due to the violence and oppression we face and how difficult life can be made for us.
And I really enjoyed the stark reality of Pike not belonging. You don't belong here. You can't live here. You can't live this way. But just showing it from a cis person perspective. He literally would die if someone didn't help him.
Cis people would not. Well, okay, it's giving him a taste of what it's like.
Exactly.
It's flipping it around.
Yeah.
What if you felt like this all the time? Would you want something to be done to make you feel better?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point. 4 minutes, 31 seconds. Pike says Una needs Nira's help because Starfleet Command found out Una's Illyrian and thus genetically modified. Nira. It was only a matter of time before she was outed. Starfleet will never let an Illyrian serve, not openly, but that's not my problem. Yeah, things suck for trans people out there, but this one lawyer literally cannot save all of them, much less one she has personal beef with, and she doesn't think changing the system is possible. 4 minutes 55 seconds. Pike. I know why you feel the way you do about Starfleet, the Federation, all of us. I saw some things. On a research mission to an abandoned Illyrian colony, I found out that it wasn't so abandoned. I saw what can happen to Illyrians who reverse their genetic modification just so the Federation will accept them. People who detransition just to be accepted by cis society go back to living in a waking death, if they can even continue living at all. And yes, some detransitioners are cis people who made a mistake which shouldn't be held against trans people. But most people who detransition do so because life as an out trans person was made too difficult for them to cope with. And those trans people who detransition just so cis people will accept them live a horrible, miserable life, if you can even call it a life. And if that's something you'd ask anyone to do just to get your approval, well, what the F is wrong with you? 5 minutes, 13 seconds. Pike. Old fears can be hard to let go of, but we were wrong about Illyrians. All of us. I was wrong. Nira, congratulations, you discovered empathy. Let me know when the rest of your Federation catches up. Individuals can wake up to the false cis-binary matrix once they see it for themselves. Do check out my book, Why Don't You? Begin Transmission, the Trans Allegories of the Matrix, available everywhere now. But changing society is a much bigger hill to climb.
Can I just say how much I love Nira? I mean,
she's great.
She's great. And I think, I kind of see a little bit of myself in her, in that she's not handing out cookies because people sort of think they're making an effort. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
I really, on a lot of different fronts, just in life, in the world, but certainly in covering the industry, I hope I'm not cynical, but I'm certainly far more unwilling to expend effort on people who just want a pat on the head or a cookie. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. I think that she really reflects a point of view that she's been in the trenches trying to help people in general. And it's such a struggle that she's not interested in bullshit. I think it's a fantastic performance, and I think it's a well-written character. And I really like that they make her, I want to use the word uncompromising. I don't think that that's exactly it. She's very committed and unwilling to settle for less than. She already does. She knows that she knows she can't alone change society, right?
Yeah.
And so she's only going to focus on things that she thinks will work, that will matter, that will make a real difference, that will make a real change. And I think it could have been very easy to make her a less interesting character. I think she's just incredibly diligent and has seen a lot and is not going to settle for the mushy middle.
Yeah.
You're either with us or you're against us, because if you're in the middle, you're actually against us.
Yeah.
Is that wrong to kind of interpret her stance?
I think that is correct. And what you said is also, I think, really accurate, because every time I post something on Blue Sky about a trans issue in the news or something, I get the people in my replies putting in all caps, I support you. And they're what do you want from me? You want a pat on the head? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't tell me you support me. Go out there and do something to actually support trans people. Don't tell me that is nothing. I'm not going to pat you on the head for that. And you need to do a whole lot more than just shout that you support people. So.
Yeah, no, that's a real thing. What people in that instance are doing is asking you to expend mental energy, giving them a cookie or a pat on the head or a word of praise, when in fact, trans people in this country and in the world are under siege. Why in the world? The way that you can support not just you, but trans people who very much need the support is doing the thing, doing all the things. Asking for attention for, I like you personally. Great, cool. That doesn't help me at all.
Exactly.
That's not what this is about. It's not about interpersonally being liked. And I think that's why I think this character of Nira is such a good choice, because she doesn't particularly care if Pike likes her. She doesn't particularly want, we're used to characters being like, oh, the Federation, even if they're at war with the Federation, they think the Federation's a big deal. She's like,
Yeah.
I think the Federation is the oppressor, so I don't know. I don't really care to get their approval. I want them to change because they're being awful to people I care about. And so it's bold.
It is. It makes her so great. 5 minutes, 34 seconds. Pike. They're going to dismiss her, everything she's strived for, her life's work, her entire career, everything that she's contributed. Neera, Starfleet race laws are draconian. This is something the Matrix discusses at multiple points through the franchise, how we're all rewarded for conforming to the cis-binary and punished the second we don't. 7 minutes, 19 seconds. Neera goes to see Una, who's being held until trial. Neera, I told you this would happen. Una, after 25 years, the first thing you say to me is, I told you so. Neera never believed the system of oppression would change, so Una getting quote-unquote caught is what she always expected would happen. 7 minutes, 33 seconds. Neera asks for Una's version of the story. Una, until 2 months ago, my record with Starfleet was spotless. When they didn't know, they didn't care. The only thing that's changed is that they know the truth. Right, because Illyrians and trans people can be valued people who contribute to society without issue because we are not the problem. Neera, and that you lied about it. Must be nice. Some Illyrians have modifications they can't hide, and some of us refuse to. This is referring to going stealth, trans people letting everyone think they're cis, which used to be known as woodworking and was required by draconian rules set up to force us to conform to compulsory cisgender heterosexuality. See Misgendering and Passing in Episode 34 and Transmedicalism in WPATH version 1 in Episode 60 for more. And it's not something every trans person can do even if they wanted to. Some of us just don't look like cis people of our gender, and that's okay. I don't pass, and I don't want to, and none of us should feel we have to just so society will leave us alone. And some of us, even if we wanted to pass as cis, simply can't due to the way our bodies are. Some of us don't have that privilege. Una. So then somebody turned me in, and now Starfleet is asking me to hide again, so that no one has to know an Illyrian climbed the ranks of Starfleet. It'll be like it never happened, like I never happened. Erasure of our existence has been the primary goal of our transphobic society since its inception. See episode 95 of this show, Trans Trauma 2, Societal Gaslighting. 8 minutes, 14 seconds. Neera. You had your playtime acting like one of them. Accept your dismissal, take your licks, and go home. Neera has no sympathy for someone who would hide their truth simply so those who oppress us will like us better. It's a really hard thing to deal with because when you hide your transness, regardless of the reason, some of which, like for safety, are totally valid, you are still, in essence, confirming that transness is something that should be hidden, that it's shameful, that it's wrong. And it also makes it appear as if there are less of us in the world, and you rob every trans person who's not out yet, or who hasn't discovered that they're trans yet, of seeing you out and proud, which helps them think that they can do it too. All of us who are out publicly have trans people who came before us and inspired us in that way. I thanked all the trans women, and especially trans women writers, who helped me do those things in the very first Trans Tuesday when I came out, and in the back of my book. I have more compassion for trans folks who go stealth than Neera does, but her stance is justified and understandable. It is complicated and difficult. And none of that would be even an issue if it weren't for transphobic society and all the cis people who perpetuate it. Una, I shouldn't have to hide anymore. None of us should. I know I should have done better. I didn't stand up when I should have. I'm standing up now. Well, if that doesn't just say it all. 8 minutes, 43 seconds. Neera takes the case. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me, and for all the Illyrians who can't or just won't pretend to not be who they really are, so they can run away to Starfleet. Despite her reservations at changing the system, Neera knows that the only way it will ever change is to fight it, even when it seems impossible. We will wrap it there for this week. Thank you for being here, Mo.
Thank you so much for having me.
Next week, we will dive into the hypocrisy of some cis people, the damage society does to us and then blames us for, and see that no matter how much good we do and contribute to society, none of it will save us from the oppression we face. Because it's not really about us. Tilly Bridges, end transmission. Tilly's Trans Tuesdays is hosted by Tilly Bridges and Susan Bridges, with audio editing and sound mixing by Jillian Morgan. The written essay version of this week's topic and all past topics is available at tillystranstuesdays.com. Special thanks to Daisy and Jane for the use of Sorry Not Sorry as our show's theme music. Please stop by and show your support at daisyandjane.bandcamp.com and soundcloud.com/daisyandjane. You can find me at Tilly Bridges on Blue Sky and on Mastodon at tillybridges at mastodon.social, and you can find Susan on those at Susan L. Bridges. You can find Jillian at Audio Jillian on Blue Sky. You can join the Tillyverse Discord server by following the link at the very bottom of tillystranstuesdays.com. We hold regular watch parties for the Matrix films and other trans movies where I do a live Q&A, and it's blossomed into a wonderfully supportive, compassionate, kind community of friends. We'd love to have you join us. If you'd like to keep up with all the writing that Susan and I do, you can sign up for our newsletter at birdguestbroadcast.com. If you enjoy this show, please take a moment to leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. The largest segment of our listeners find the show there, and more reviews equals a higher profile, which means it will reach more of the people who need it. Thank you for your support. For more information, visit pendantaudio.com. Thanks for listening.